This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. And welcome to my review of The Boys Season 4 premiere. This is the first 3 episodes of the season, so if you haven't watched them yet, I would recommend not watching this because I will be discussing a lot of spoilers. And, small note, I will have Mortal Kombat footage for Homelander next week for the reviews. I just haven't had any time to go and play the game and record it. And it's mainly because I was really just had a lot of stuff to do with watching Lord of the Rings and now building Bar Door. So, going into the review, I really enjoyed these episodes. There's just so much to talk about. And I'll probably have like a follow-up video talking about more because I know I'm going to forget stuff. Or I might discuss more in next week's review, but just so much happened with this. To make it a little simpler, I'm going to be going by stuff that happened to characters instead of going through the episodes sort of chronologically because I watched all three in a row, so they kind of blended together. And to start off with, one we have the least amount for, which is Mother's Milk, and I do enjoy the development we had with him. He is having to become a leader and make decisions. He sees the hard position that Butcher was in, and I think that's pretty interesting. He is making some decisions that sort of feel against him, and the power seems to be a little bit going to his head, but it still is just really interesting to see what's going on with him. Him seemingly turning a train to their side is also interesting. To have you have to work with the person who put him on this entire path in the first place. And yeah, honestly, this is just super interesting, and I think that it was really awesome to see him be put in this new position of leadership and just struggling with it. He does fire Butcher, which is pretty interesting, but I'll talk about that more when I get to my talk about Butcher. Moving on to the last thing, I think that, although I think everyone's glad that Todd is dead, it was really interesting with that scene and how Mother's Milk is such a great guy, and even though he hates the guy, he went to look for him for his daughter since she did care about him. And moving on now to Kamiko, who she honestly gets a good amount of development with this. She's trying to deal with her problems and isn't dealing with them well. And everything with her was interesting. She is definitely moving to a point where I think by the end of the season she is gonna gain the ability to speak and break through it. It just seems like that's the direction they're going with this, with her trying to figure it out and seeing her traumas as the one way to break through it. So I'm interested to see where they go with this. And I'm assuming her first real words will be at the end of the season finale. But I think it'll be built up well, and she is going to be having more developed with her. I do wonder who this other person was that was with the Shining Light when they went and, well, when she went and massacred everyone, but I also really like how she's kind of there for Frenchie, even though he doesn't really want her to be. And going to him, his is pretty simple, where it's a story that we've seen a bunch of times, where someone's going and trying to right the wrongs they've done against someone, but they wind up caring about this person a lot and not wanting to tell them. I think that it was pretty interesting to see with him, and Honestly, it's really just awesome to see here. I think that it's going to be a good storyline, although it's going to be a little more cliche for him, since we've seen this a bunch. Most recently, I could think of is Falcon and Winter Soldier, but there's a bunch of examples, and it's nothing just popping into my mind right now. Moving on to some of our villains, I think that A Train. It's really interesting to see him go on this kind of redemption arc where he's realizing just how bad the things he did are and is starting to feel bad. And it's really interesting, just everything with that. And moving on to the Deep, he's just as pathetic as ever, but is starting to realize how people treat him. I think that was pretty just interesting to see with him and him starting to stand up for himself. But there's also, I think, very clear facts that Sister Sage is clearly obsessed with him, and I'm pretty sure she killed his octopus, and that's what he was eating in the end of the third episode. But yeah, honestly, I think that she really is kind of like obsessed with him. I don't really know why, but it is pretty interesting. And then there is, I can't remember her name exactly, was something patriotic. I just can't think of it. I remember that. I remember, even though this was only briefly mentioned, she was called Firecracker as a kid, but I just can't think of her character name right now. But I think her hating Starlight's interesting, seeing how Starlight could have been like the other members of the Seven and the Boys. It's interesting, but she did turn around, and her having a rival with Starlight does make sense because Starlight was really nice to her as a kid, but it's also kind of petty to be doing this to be holding on to something that happened so long ago. And then just to briefly mention Black Noir being played by some kind of like actor. It's to be more comedic and it's just mainly to keep up appearances. But honestly, that was pretty interesting. Now I think it's time to. Oh yeah, and then Ashley also. I think that the scene with her saying that Disney wants her was kind of hilarious. And I wonder what's going to go on with her because she's clearly having problems. She doesn't want to be there, but she's terrified of Homelander executing her, so she feels like she's trapped there. But yeah, honestly, I think that was pretty great. And now moving on to the big characters. I don't really know how to discuss first. I feel like they're all just really interesting, but I think I'll start with one. Although he's the main antagonist, I feel like we get the least amount from him with Homelander, and he's clearly losing it more and more. I do think it's interesting that he wants someone that actually could challenge him, and that's probably like the most interesting part of the episode that he went and got someone who's going to clearly disagree with him, someone who will not be afraid to talk back to him. And I think that's something that he really does need to make him just even more intimidating, because he's just filled with yes men and people who are just gonna do whatever he wants because they're terrified of him. But I think that having such a sage there is just really interesting and is a great kind of counterbalance to him since he always kind of had one until he took over the company. There was mainly no Stan Edgar and then Madeline before him, but I think it's great to have someone, who he considers, kind of an equal with her being a soup. And then moving on to just everything with Ryan, it's really intimidating with him trying to turn Ryan to be like him, but also saying that he really shouldn't. Honestly, I really can't wait to see where they go with him because he sees that he doesn't really want to turn Ryan into him, but still wants to turn him to think similar to him. He clearly sees there's a problem with him, and I really just can't wait to see where he goes because the ending with him was really great. And speaking of Ryan, I honestly love what they're doing with him. He's not, fully committed to Homelander, and he still does care about Butcher. I do wonder really which way they could go with him because I feel like they could honestly go either way. Everything with him was great. Him still having compassion and being like a good person, but also having Homelander being the worst influence possible is just a really great setup, and I can't wait to see what they do next with him. And then I think I want to talk about Butcher last. So going with Huey, I think that honestly everything with him was great. I think him and his relationship with Annie was done even better. Everything with his mom was honestly just really well done. And although I really didn't expect it, I think that it doesn't make a lot of sense. I really just think with his mom could have just been something in the background forever, but I'm glad they're addressing it. And I don't know, I feel like there could be something going on here where his mom was planted by Vought or something, or some kind of manipulation, but I don't know, I just want to be a little optimistic with that and just feel like it is something genuinely good. And even though she does work for Vought, I don't know, I feel like I might be going a little conspiracy theory here, but I feel like there's going to be something going on where his dad was somehow injured by someone in Vought, and this is being used to kind of manipulate him. And oh, another thing I almost forgot to mention was everything with Victoria Newman is just really interesting. Her having her running mate trying to take her down, and I don't even know why he would have accepted her, but I'm assuming he accepted her before the truth was exposed to him, and now he's trying to take her down since he can't really back out on her. But yeah, honestly, I think this is gonna be really interesting. Her wanting to become president and that deal she's making with Homelander to have him take out Singer once he becomes president is it just honestly looks awesome. I really can't wait to see what they do with this. I'm assuming the season's going to end with the election and seeing the results of that. And just going to a little bit of future guessing, I feel like there's one or two more seasons here, and I'm really excited to see what they do. But going back, I think that everything with Annie was interesting. Her finally being able to take up the identity of Starlight again to help inspire people, and her fighting back against Homelander is honestly really awesome. I think everything with the Starlight movement was it's pretty cool to see, and her kind of leading an army against Homelander. I feel like this is eventually going to, lead to a full-on civil war, and I really can't wait to see what they do with that. But everything with her was interesting. Seeing that she did make mistakes as a kid was it was good to help humanize her a little more and show that she isn't as perfect. And she clearly does have regrets, but I really just can't wait to see where this continues. And I think finally moving to Butcher, who I think was the most compelling character of the entire 3 episodes. I really loved what they did with him having all these regrets and wanting to fix things, but he has just so many problems that he really isn't able to go and do anything to solve stuff. He is wanting to save Ryan, and he's actually pulling himself back from his darker impulses. And I think this is honestly going to be just really interesting with him. And I feel like he's going to take Compound V by the end of the season and use that to cure himself from dying and use that to put him on a even playing level with Homelander. And this could either be from Ryan deciding to stay with Homelander, or it could be so he can help protect Ryan and not have him be trained to kill his father. But yeah, honestly, I just really love these episodes. And I'm just talking about the characters right now, and there were just so many great moments. I think that the just really dark scene where Homelander has his team members go and execute his loyalist fans to go and frame Starlighters was interesting. I think that the entire Vaughn on Ice thing, that was just hilarious, and the entire like kind of massacre at the end where Homelander accidentally just one person and then it just turns into a giant mess where they start running over each other, injuring each other, and I think they may have killed a few other members. Oh, it was just a great kind of like overreaction. It was really just well done. And yeah, honestly, as I said, I really enjoyed these episodes, and I really enjoyed the length. Just 3 hours of just pure enjoyment. But yeah, honestly, it was just incredible to watch this. They did such a great job. I had so much fun, and I can't wait to see where they continue with this because it was just complete chaos and just so much fun. But yeah, honestly, I want to know what you think. Please let me know in the comments. Because honestly, I really needed something great like this after the Acolytes episode. Just something great that was new because honestly, this was just incredible. I had such a great time, and I seriously just want to know what you think. Please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.